I was really timid and shy, and on paper the person that was never going to start a business and put themselves out there, because a lot of people tell themselves they don't have that to put themselves out there, but neither did I.
Anything you specifically did that really pushed you to do it?
Well, one thing I always say is...
Today's guest shares her story from hobby to multi-million-dollar business, all while thinking she was never the type of person for this kind of success. Inspiring us today is Odd Muse founder Aimee Smale.
Is such a passion of mine that I don't share. I just want successful women to invest in a woman buying their own is so cool.
That information that you have would be so valuable to people who are also at that same point as you.
I would like to talk more about it because for some reason I don't feel comfortable bringing them to the internet.
Was there a version of yourself that you had to let go of?
My partner said to me last year, your business does $30 million a year. When are you going to start enjoying it? But you have to have a ceiling. This business has gone beyond what I thought it was ever going to do. As a woman in business, you need to have that conversation with yourself. I either need to stay in this business and be ecstatic, or I need to just move on.
Would you ever consider selling Odd Muse?
Before I would say no, never, ever, ever. But at the moment,
All right, Balancers, welcome to another episode of The Balance Theory. I'm really excited to bring you today's guest because my passion is always understanding the person behind the success. You know, what we see online a lot sometimes are all the shiny moments, the big milestones, and today's guest is not shy of any of those things. Forbes 30 under 30, from being self-funded to multi-million-dollar business. What I can't wait to hear from her is who she had to stop being and who she had to become to achieve everything she's achieved, and obviously just get to know her story and where she is today. So joining me today to share her story is the beautiful Aimee Smale. Aimee, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
My absolute pleasure. Yeah, I was just telling you a little bit before we jumped on. The audience are a bunch of really ambitious people. They're interested in self-development and mindset, and I think really understanding who you are behind your success is really going to speak to them. And people in a position where maybe they've started something, maybe they want to start something, but I think really talking very openly about the journey, right? What we don't necessarily see online because you don't have capacity to share every moment of your life, I think is really, really helpful. So where I want to start this conversation is, can you take me back to day one? Right? Day one, Aimee, who started Odd Muse. What was her energy like? What was her vision like for this business that she wanted to start?
So I always say with Odd Muse, it was genuinely my hobby before. So I was working as a buyer's assistant for a company called ASOS in London, and I was commuting every day into London, an hour and a half in, and I would just be sketching designs and thinking of brand names, and I really spent around 2 years just building this hobby on my iPad. And I think when people think of Odd Muse and think about our start, they think it's kind of this overnight success, but I literally was falling in love with it for 2 whole years before I launched it. And that's why everyone's loves the name, and our first product was super successful because it was a really well thought out idea. I just was super young and I didn't really have the confidence to put myself out there and start it. And I think when we was put into a lockdown in the UK over COVID, I just remember spending, previously my evenings were just prepping for work the next day and getting that 6 o'clock train. And then all of a sudden, I was having these really late nights just on my iPad and just really just a lot of time by myself, not going out with friends and not doing anything. And I really talked myself into it. I really hyped myself up. And by the time I launched Odd Muse, I was just so deliriously confident because I knew Odd Muse so well, and I was so sure it wasn't going to fail. And I also just thought I'm willing to fail. I'm very early in my career. I really don't mind getting another job. If I need to quit my job, start a business, it fails, I really just took out all the risk. The worst thing that was going to happen was I might be a bit embarrassed going back into corporate and saying, I tried a business and it failed. And then, but what if I didn't? So I think, that time over COVID was actually really game changing for me, because I did not have the confidence, and I really had to spend a lot of time with myself just saying like, this is amazing and you're going to make it.
This is really interesting, because I think this is like a big missing piece for a lot of us in modern day life, right? We're so busy, we have responsibilities, we've either got business or work or family. It's so rare you get that quality time with yourself to actually just tune in, dial in, get lost in a passion, like spend that time actually stretching out an idea. Like
and I also like to really make it clear like just how much of a timid, almost awkward person I can be, because I am not on paper the person that would quit their job and start a business and start filming their journey and really put themselves out there online. Like obviously through Odd Muse and just through maturing in life, I have grown a bit more confident. But I always like to remind people that I was really timid and shy, and on paper the person that was never going to start a business and put themselves out there. Because a lot of people tell themselves they don't have that to put themselves out there, but neither did I.
That's really interesting though, because you still executed. So what was it? You know, you said you spent a lot of time with yourself, you talked to yourself, but like, was there anything you can remember doing, whether it was like a habit or I don't know, I don't want to put ideas in your head, but like a meditation or anything you specifically did that really like pushed you to do it?
Well, one thing I always say is if I'm not laughing or learning, I'm not doing it. So I either really need to be enjoying it, or I need to be learning something. It needs to be a learning experience. So this really applies to ASOS, for example. There were days where I just really enjoyed my job, and there were like crap days at work where I didn't enjoy my job, but I was learning a lot. And I think I got to a point with ASOS where I wasn't enjoying it and I wasn't really learning anything. I was just doing.
You like plateaued.
So I was kind of like looking for that next step. I mean, going into the fashion corporate world in such big companies, it is really hard to level up. And I kind of knew my progression wasn't going to be there, because you just, again, like there were 500, I was a BA, there were 500 BAs going for every promotion. For every time a level up come, it would be out of 500 people. And I just wasn't that girl to really put herself forward. So I started a business instead, basically.
That seems like the easy second option. So you quit your job and then started Odd Muse.
Yeah, so I basically was getting samples made. I did like the photo shoot. I did all these things while I was working at ASOS. And then when I was ready to launch, around maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before, I actually just quit. I didn't wake up that day thinking I was going to quit my job. But it's actually quite a funny story. So I had been moved to the beauty department at ASOS, and anyone who is in fashion buy-in, you go into fashion buy-in because you want to review the seasons. Like I was going to different brands and reviewing like spring, summer, and selecting what ASOS was going to sell that season. And then all of a sudden I was put into beauty, which is a very fast-paced department, and it's a lot of replen. So it's ordering 20,000 more Pixie Glow tonics. It's ordering, more of the ordinary hyaluronic acid. And I just felt I literally, like, my world crumbled around me, because it goes back to that. I wasn't learning anything and I wasn't enjoying it. So I cried and cried to go back to my department. I was actually on the premium women's wear department, which doesn't exist anymore. I think I was just like keeping that department going in spirit. It was a lot of Australian brands. It was like Finders Keepers, Faithful the brand, like all these brands that I loved. And I was just obsessed with that kind of mid-luxury price point that didn't exist in the UK. I mean, as a department, we was failing, like we couldn't shift the stock, but a lot of it was like viscose dresses that were really seasonal and high summer. But I was just telling myself, there is this market for these priced pieces, but more capsule and more like wear it every day, every season, and not so like high summer. So that department really kind of like inspired me to start Odd Muse. But yeah, I got moved back to there after many, many tears, and one of the girls was going to get moved off because of me. So I was just like, you can stay, I'm going to quit. And I actually hired her. She's been with me for like 5 years. She's like one of like the OG girls. But yeah, I basically quit my job that day because I didn't want Alice to move to the beauty department. So, yeah, that's kind of how I decided to quit my job one day. But I knew I was going to do it. My mum was like, please just wait till Christmas. It was like August, September. And I was just like, no, I need to give this 100%. And I also knew how like awkward I would be. Like if I launched a brand and I was going into work every day, I didn't want to be sitting at a desk with people going, how's your brand go? How's that going? Like I knew it would just like shrivel up my confidence while I was growing. I knew how game changing me being alone was. And I didn't want to launch this brand in an awkward situation where I'm kind of like juggling two things and people are watching me. I kind of just wanted to like put it all out on the internet and just hide in a self-storage unit and just pack these orders. And also I just said to my mum, I will get another job. If this doesn't work out, it's September now. If this doesn't work out, I will get another job in January. And I was doing little bits on the side as well. Like I was doing a lot of graphic design work. This was like pre-Canva. So I like taught myself Adobe. I was like making logos on Illustrator for local businesses. And I was always making sure I had some sort of passive income before I quit my job, which I just think the world we live in today is just fabulous for. Like we actually can like log online, learn a new skill and profit off of that if we really, really want to. So yeah, that's kind of how I just woke up and decided to quit my job one day.
It kind of sounds like the universe conspired to make that happen.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
really
like
put up those walls.
I'm a big believer in that. We've had so many moments all throughout the business where the universe just aligned for us. And we've had some really, really good moments that I believe were meant for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that too. And what you've just shared just goes to show how important your environment is when you are trying to create something.
I want to stop and share one really quick life hack with you that I've recently come across. Now, I've never been a heavy makeup person and I really prefer a more natural daily look. That's why when I used the Jones Road Beauty Miracle Balm for the first time, I not only absolutely loved how effortless and natural the finish was, but even better was the fact that I can use it as a highlighter, bronzer, blush, and lip tint. It is the ultimate no-fuss multitasker. And I really didn't appreciate this at first, but the fact that it's literally a 4-in-1 use product means I don't have to cram my makeup bag, whether it's taking it to the studio, out for a top up, or even traveling. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, the best part of Jones Road Beauty is that all of their products are actually good for your skin. All the Jones Road formulas have no phthalates, sulfates, PEGs, cyclic silicons, EDTA or BPA. So naturally, once I started simplifying my routine with the Miracle Balm, I wanted to see how far I could take in simplifying and improving my makeup routine in general. And Jones Road actually just launched their foundation stick that fits perfectly into that. It's dermatologist tested and available in 30 shades to match a wide range of skin tones. Jones Road Beauty, which by the way was founded by Bobbi Brown, to me is modern day makeup that is clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our listeners are getting a free full-size mascara on their first purchase when they use the code BALANCE at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com, that's road spelt in full, and use code BALANCE at checkout. After you purchase, they're going to ask what you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know we sent you. Thank you so much to Jones Road Beauty for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's get back to the show.
It's really hard when you've grown up with a certain expectation, whether that's other people on you or you on yourself. Like I was very similar, right? Go to uni, get a good job, was sitting in corporate. When you feel that pull to do something else, the actual act of having to change your environment, like you really
100%.
have to go all in on that side of it because that shapes your mindset.
Yeah.
It puts on layers of doubt or not. When you have other voices or other people, it really just creates a vision of what's possible for you or not. What would you say to somebody listening who knows what they want to do, they know what kind of life they want to create for themselves, they know what they want to start or they know what they want to change, but perhaps they can't go as dramatic as I can leave my job tomorrow. What other things do you think are important in your environment or in the way you spend your time when you are trying to really go all in on yourself?
It is a hard one, really. I think it is just sacrificing everything else around you. So when we speak about kind of like mindset, for example, I don't really feel like I've had a good mindset until literally this year, 6 years after launching my business. But I sacrificed so much. Like obviously I did quit my job to start Odd Muse, but I was also working graphic design pretty much quite full time at the time. And I was just sacrificing every single evening, every single weekend. I missed out on so many plans. I was living with my parents at the time, and I just remember them thinking I was just so like moody and awful all the time. I'd get in and I wouldn't want to speak to anyone, and I let it drain the life out of me. And I will always credit those years where I just absolutely gave it every inch of spare time and thought. And that's truly why I am here today. It isn't, I feel like there is a lot of advice out there for women that is very much, it's more tailored towards like burnout and stuff like that. And I absolutely believe in it all. But for my first 5 years, I had to crash and burn through burnout. I didn't have time to like sit at home and recover or anything else. I was like, I felt like I was in self-destruct mode for the last 5 years. But it is the reason the brand is where it is today. Like, it just took so much sacrifice. And I think that's the most important thing.
I definitely want to mirror that. And I do think, don't get me wrong, I agree. Like, I think there is a point where you can burn out, and it is a lot, and it is overwhelming, and it is too much. But I think this concept of sacrifice, I think, is one sometimes we always look at as a negative thing, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, and I'm sure during that time, you weren't really socializing, right?
No.
I'm going through
I didn't even have, I was so burnt out. I didn't even have it in me to socialize. Like, I was completely not myself. Like, I genuinely wasn't interested in engaging in conversation if it wasn't about work, which is not me at all. Like, most of the time when I come to podcasts, I just want to sit down and just talk about the actual person hosting. Like, what's your life like? I'm so interested in other people. And I had these like few year periods where I was like, I can't engage in any conversation unless it is productive for my business. And it's like, it's terrible, but it's like we can't see these crazy levels of success without these crazy periods of just that you almost just never want to reference, and they're not you, and they're just, you never want to go back there, and it's stuff like that. But it is, I think, sacrifice, it has kind of like a negative vibe, but it is kind of what you've got to do. There's no avoiding it.
So one way I look at this, right, the show's called The Balance Theory. The reason I started it was I had a massive pain point with this idea of work-life balance, right? Because there is this rhetoric that you have to like, absolutely compromise on everything to achieve what you want. My reframe to this, right, and I'm going to share it with you because I'd like to see what you think about it. My reframe is, when you know what you want, when you're creating something, you're in a season where you're growing and building. That season requires you to have very specific priorities to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right. That also means you have to be very particular on what you're not giving time to.
Yeah.
Seasons, they change, right? They come and go. There's very different times for things. And this is basically how I describe balance. I think where we've gone wrong in life is
thinking it's consistent.
Thinking it's consistent, thinking it means the areas of our life are equal, right? Work and life balance, right? Yeah. Equating the two, 50-50, making time for everything. The truth is, if you're making time for everything, nothing's a priority.
Yeah.
So the way I kind of look at this, and the reason I said I think we always make sacrifice this negative thing, I actually think if you're super clear on what matters to you and what you're building and what you're going towards, you actually don't feel like you're missing out on things. Like, yes, you say, okay, I couldn't maintain this season forever. And yes, I'm like genuinely doing this a lot more than what I normally would.
Yeah.
But if that's something you want and you're clear on it, then you create the balance. You've got to own it in that time to make that thing work for you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when you look back, if you had made time for all these social events, you would have maybe been giving your energy to people that didn't see your vision. You wouldn't have, that would have been one less thought or one less brainstorming session or, time you had to research and learn. So the way I look at this now is work out what is non-negotiable to you in the season you're in and prioritize that. And also, equally important, get very clear on what doesn't fit into that schedule, and that's how you kind of work out your balance.
I think what's really important and what's like 2026 for me has been the best I've ever felt since I started the business. I think the most important thing for me was just actually aligning on what I want out of this business, because we've always just been in this like crazy growth. And my partner said to me last year, your business does $30 million a year. When are you going to start enjoying it? When are you just going to start, having a normal week at work? And, some weeks are crazy. I get that. Tonight I'm going to be on a shoot until like 8 p.m. It's not going to be like that next week or tomorrow. When are you actually going to start enjoying your life? Because in my head, I've always just been like, this needs to get done, this needs to get done, this needs to get done. But you have to have a ceiling. And, growth is amazing. And then last year I had a conversation with myself where I was like, this business has gone beyond what I thought it was ever going to do. And I believe it can continue doing more. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I feel like, you know, I've taken it to $30 million. Imagine what else we can do, like, as we grow, because we're learning so much every year. But, like, is it the worst thing in the world if Odd Muse just makes $30 million a year? Absolutely not. So I'm so comfortable with where it is now. And as a woman in business, you need to have that conversation with yourself, because if you don't grow next year, there will be a scandalous article about your business about how it didn't grow. Odd Muse's growth is down, was growing 50% every single year, didn't grow this year, just leveled. I don't care. Like, literally, write all you like. I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying my business. I'm so happy with this ceiling, if this is a ceiling. And yeah, it just took me a minute to actually stop and be like, oh, like, what is your I made it? Because mine was definitely not $30 million. Mine was just to, you know, fund my life.
Not have to go back to corporate.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to, like, feel like safe and that I could work for myself. Like, when I really truly think about it, I never did this for $30 million a year. I never did this for more than that. And I think that was like a game-changing moment, and not enough women and not enough even anyone in business stops to just take a moment, because I was never doing that. I would when I'd be socialising, if anyone would come up to me and be like, oh my God, Odd Muse is amazing and stuff like that, I would kind of like curl into this little shy ball, because in my head I'm like, oh no, you don't even know, like, this went wrong today. Like, I struggled so much to be proud of it. And I really had to take time at the end of last year when I was like, I either need to, like, stay in this business and be ecstatic with how it's going, or I need to just move on. And yeah, I do also believe you have to get so low with your business to the point where you're like, I'm either going to quit or I'm going to stay and be happy. And that was definitely like end of 2025 for me. But yeah, sometimes it is just taking a moment, because these years in business, when you're scaling, go so fast, and they take up so much of your capacity. And, you know, you blink and 6 years has gone by and you've not really, like, done anything, or you can't remember a last time you went on holiday, or you've been happy. So yeah, that was kind of 2025 last year was like a big game-changing year for me, where I was like, I have to find this balance. And I so totally agree on, you know, how you frame balance, because that's what it is.
Okay, I can't get over this one thought, so I really need to share it with you. If you wouldn't drink it, why would you shower in it? Our skin is our body's largest organ. Every day, most of us, without even realizing, are showering in water that may contain chlorine and heavy minerals, the same water we would definitely not drink. Now, if you're a long-time listener of the show, you'll recognize this sponsor, AquaTrue. These guys have created AquaTrue Shower, a revolutionary shower head. It has an advanced 4-stage filtration, effectively filters harsh chemicals from your shower water, and uses KDF technology, which I've learned is a special copper zinc media that actually neutralizes chlorine the moment the water hits it. I love that it's not just effective at filtering all these contaminants, but it has 4 spa-like steam settings, from regular, mist, massage, and high pressure. I mean, you're telling me there's a massage setting and it's better for my hair and skin? This one honestly is a no-brainer for me and my family. It's backed by 11 years of water filtration expertise, patented design, and third-party tested. My friends at AquaTrue are offering 20% off today for my listeners with the promo code SHERIKA. AquaTrue Shower comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it with peace of mind. Get this exclusive podcast only offer now at aquatrue.com. That's AQUATRU.com, using the promo code SHERIKA. Trust me, your hair and skin will thank you. Thank you so much to AquaTrue for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's get back to the show.
So how would you describe the season you're in now?
Well, so this is something that I used to speak a lot with Stephen Bartlett about, and he would always give me advice on reaching the promised land. And I would all I've been saying for like the last year is I just want to reach the promised land with my business. And the promised land has not got a number on it. The promised land is me going to work every day and feeling excited. The promised land is obviously Odd Muse performing to its target. Everyone is happy. And I would say my season is the promised land. And I'm calling it a season because I'm smart enough to know that that could change and work could get stressful again, and I might start another business and I might no longer be in the promised land. But right now, I feel like I'm in the promised land and everything is going well super, super consistently. And I know that because we're halfway through the year and I've felt this way consistently, whereas all throughout my journey, I've had like good weeks and they've never lasted. So yeah, I'd say my season is the promised land. And it's funny because in December 2025, I sent him a voice note saying, I want to quit. I want to sell my business. Can you actually tell me what the first steps is? And he sent me back this like graph and it said like Stephen Bartlett's quitting framework. And it was like this question that you'd answer yes or no. And then you'd go to the next one, then you'd go to the next one. And I did it and it worked out I wasn't ready to quit. So I'm so glad I obviously reached out to him and got that, because within that I was like, okay, I'm not ready to quit or sell, but something needs to change. And literally by kind of like Jan, Feb this year, I was like, I'm in the promised land. So yeah, that's my season.
Amazing. And I love that that's really based on how you feel in your business.
Yeah.
I think that's a very unspoken part of success, separate to obviously the data and the numbers. What's the biggest difference between what are the changes that you've made that have shifted you into this new period?
I think I've just made a lot of changes. I made a lot of changes in my environment. I moved to New York last year and I really wanted to like live this New York dream and be this like young fashion girl in New York. And the reality was it was incredibly hectic. I was 5 hours behind my team, so I never really got ahead for the day. I'd wake up at 6 a.m. with loads of things going on. And I'd, still be in my pajamas at 3 p.m. on my iPad because you just don't have that morning. Having a has been game changing for me. I haven't had a morning since 2020. So the mornings are definitely there. People has been a big one, like really building out my senior team. When you launch a business and you're 22 years old, all you're going to do is hire girls your age and have a fun old time. And like we had the most fun time, like opening the New York store, doing all the London pop-ups, but it gets to a point where the business is the size it is now and it almost grew beyond me and my team. And people want progression and want to know what like the next few years are going to look like and where the brand's going. So really just assigning people like a managing director, a finance director, a brand director has given me and my team so much clarity. Like we was constantly chasing our tail and it was like the best time ever until it wasn't. So I think senior leadership has been game changing for me. And I think that goes back to laughing and learning. Like I'm learning so much from these people. Like these people have worked at, our brand director is from Charlotte Tilbury and Gisou. Our finance director is, so successful and so knowledgeable. And I just feel like I'm learning so much from them. So a lot of that is why I'm enjoying work so much. So yeah, senior leadership is a big one because, one thing they never teach you about going into a business is hiring a team and what that looks like. So yeah, that's been quite game changing. I'd say environment and just really appointing some great leaders has been amazing, has helped me reach the promised land.
Amazing. And I actually really like that concept, the promised land. I've not heard that before, but it's like cool.
Well, it's not mine to credit, it's Stephen Bartlett's, but it's very, very good.
Do you think like now that you're in this phase, there'll be like a new version of the promised land in your future? Or do you think it will feel the same, but it just might look different?
I think it's always changing. Like, I hope to get married and have children one day. And like, that will be a whole different thing when I, add that into the mix. My life changes every single year. So yeah, the promised land will 100% change. I think with me, I like to give like 100%. I'm very like all or nothing. So I feel like that sometimes is always it can have a bit of a push point because you can't give everything 100%. And I still feel like I'm giving Odd Muse 100%. I just have more people working on there. So I genuinely have a more normal workload. But life gets crazy as we get older and we take on more responsibilities like a home, children and stuff like that. So I definitely see that evolving. I definitely see the promised land as a season. But the main thing for me, the promised land is just waking up every single day and enjoying your life.
Yeah, I think that's very relatable to a lot of people, just to think about what does that actually look like every single day in your life. And we were talking before as well about being in an environment where you've sort of you're on autopilot, you've just kind of gotten into corporate because that was the thing to do and everyone's sort of just doing their bit. But if you actually take a step back and think, what would a really aligned life look like to me? Where would I be living? You know, what would I be doing every day? What would be my interest? How would I be spending my spare time? Like those kind of questions to sit with yourself are really important to give space to. Otherwise you do just sit kind of on autopilot, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Guys, this is crazy. 85% of you who regularly watch this show or who are watching right now do not subscribe. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way for you to support the show, and it makes sure that I can continue to show up every single week and give you free, incredible conversations. Now, as soon as you hit that subscribe button, let's get back into today's episode.
Tell me about, you know, you spoke openly online about how you really fell out of love with the business. It grew bigger than you. And end of last year, we're talking like 6 months ago, you were at a point where you were ready to quit. What do you think's the biggest difference with yourself, right? And not so much the environment. I mean, the way you look at yourself. Was there a version of yourself that you had to let go of to kind of evolve into the version of you now?
Yeah, I really just feel like this year I grew up a lot, and it goes back to what I was saying, like this why am I crying? I have a $30 million business. And also like, this is a huge responsibility. I can't be crying. And I think it is just having those conversations with yourself where it's like almost, you know, the same way people, how they practice kind of like gratefulness and gratitude, like that's almost what I had to like bring into my life. I just have to constantly remind myself that I am living my dream and, you know, I need help. I think at the end of last year, I needed help. And I thought the help was getting rid of the business entirely. But no, it was, you know, my finance director, we appointed him as managing director. He started looking after a whole half of the business that I now don't even need to think about that does affect my creativity. So we're talking freight, everything that went on with tariffs last year, like I don't get involved with that anymore. Finances, operations, all stuff like that. It is being dealt with at a higher level than I could ever do. And then going into this year, I was like, I want someone for the other side of the business, for the brand, for the marketing, for the, you know, and I lead the creative. And, you know, that's what I did going into this year. And I now feel like I have two like high level people looking after both sides of the business. And I am just like this creative bonus that has the best ideas for Odd Muse, that is designing the product that's going to China and getting it all made and doing it exactly how I want to do it because I have the time and the mental capacity to do it all to the standard that I want to do it. So I think that is what's changed the most for me, like putting myself in that position, like, you know, telling myself, okay, you actually have to appoint these big hires now. Stop telling yourself like all these people are too expensive and you can't afford them and stuff like that. You have to invest in your people, and everyone I've appointed to an Odd Muse team, whether they're an entry level exec manager, they have always bought into the business. So I've just seen that same effect with just appointing to real high level hires. And I think it is intimidating hiring people that are, you know, have been working longer than you and essentially know more than you. You have to trust them, because I've been in a situation where I've appointed someone super high and I was taken advantage of. And I think it is hard, but the right people are super, super game changing.
Yeah, that would definitely be hard. And I don't think, you know, you often get to hear from a lot of young female, you know, leaders who have created multi-million-dollar businesses that have had to put their faith in people that have probably been in, you know, their roles for 20, 30 years. And you do just have to, you know, you probably don't really know the extent of their role and what they're doing. Yeah. How did you think it's really just a case of like trial and error in terms of?
It's like dating. Hiring is like dating. And there's people that are going to interview incredibly well, especially with the rise of AI. Like some people come to interviews with the most amazing answers, the most amazing prep tasks. And when they're in the role, I'm like, that hasn't happened too much, but I have seen it before. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like the same person like we interviewed. Hiring is like dating, and you are gonna make mistakes. And I do see this a lot. I see like people creating scandals and stuff online if like people have like come into the business and left the business, but hiring is like dating, and you have to, all the people on my team, first and foremost, are very nice people and they love Odd Muse. And that has nothing to do with their skill set, but they're passionate about the brand. But they also fit in well with the team because they're just a nice person. And I think that is like the main things that I look for when I'm really interviewing people, just them first 2-step criterias. And then we can start talking about, you know, what you can do for the brand and where your experience sits and stuff like that. But yeah, hiring is like dating, and you're not going to get it right. I've got it wrong quite a few times, and I've sat there and been so disappointed in myself and been super stressed and almost been like scared if TikTok's going to find out that this person's left the company. And it's like, this is the real world. This is what happens. So yeah, hiring is like dating. You've got to kiss a few frogs, and that's just how it is.
You said before, you know, you're quite a timid person. How do you actually deal with having such a big brand, and like now obviously like a big personal brand? Things are very open for public commentary, and obviously like a lot of people have a lot of different things to say.
Yeah.
How do you personally deal with negativity online?
Well, I think honestly, if I was just a creator and just doing that, I think I would be a lot more heavily affected because it would be my whole job. But I don't tend to like look at comments. I think my experience online has pretty much been, I'd say like 80% positive. And 99.9% of the chance when someone is either speaking negatively about Odd Muse or myself, they haven't bought or experienced the brand ever. They haven't met me or care to know me. So I just in my head, I'm like, these people don't even exist. Like they don't exist. Like anyone will know. Like if you are online and you go out, people will come up to you and be like, oh my God, are you the Odd Muse girl? No one ever comes up to you and goes, oh, you know, I think your business is this, or I don't like that top you're wearing, or do you know what I mean? Like these people don't have the confidence to exist in real life. It's just unfortunate that, you know, social media isn't, I honestly feel like social media at the moment is kind of like, you know, when we speak about like the tabloids years ago and how they used to comment on women's baby weight and whatever Victoria Beckham was doing, I honestly feel like social media is in that stage now, and we'll look back in 10 years and be like, I can't believe with like the rise of AI and everything Meta are doing, they can't stop someone from having a spam account and leaving awful comments. I feel like we will look back on this one day and be like, how the hell did anyone live through that? So yeah, I just tend to not give it too much fire, to be honest. The first time it happened to me, I remember I was on like a shoot. We was in Miami. I'd just finished like a 12-hour day. And I really kind of like responded to this person. I think she ended up getting like tens of thousands of followers out of it. It was a huge disaster for me. And I just learnt my lesson. Like I would say with the internet, I just feel like, when did we stop not being able to make mistakes? Like that's how I learn. Like my whole thing is making mistakes. And then now if someone makes a mistake, it's like this big scandal on the internet. Like people have to make mistakes, learn and grow. And I just think there's like it is mainly on TikTok, to be honest. I've really not been spending a lot of time on the app. I think Instagram is great. I think Pinterest is the best thing ever. I think YouTube's amazing. Anyone that's willing to, you know, sit down and listen to a 40-minute conversation or a 40-minute video of you, they're the people that you want. They're not the people with the haters. They don't have the patience to sit down or care to sit down long enough with you. So yeah, I just think it's just a bit of a strange place. But yeah, when I did react that one time, again, I made a mistake there, but I'm kind of like, sorry, when was we supposed to know how to deal with like 500 people piling up on you? Like that's not normal. I should have been able to be like, I didn't know what I was doing in that situation, because why the hell should I? Yeah. So yeah, I have no regrets on that. I think we all make mistakes where we kind of like interact with them, but at the end of the day, it's what they want. So,
and ultimately, like social media is such a weird place because it gives people access to commentary that like you said, doesn't exist in the real world. And oftentimes, like for anybody listening that's made a piece of content, just one, put themselves out there online, film themselves, you would never write something horrible about someone else, unless you disagree with their opinion, in which case you're probably coming at it with a bit more of a genuine angle. So I think that's good advice to remember. It's something I struggle with from time to time, but you're right, like it literally doesn't
don't
exist
get me
in
wrong.
the real
Like
world.
sometimes they'll call you out on things about on your face or something like that you didn't even think about before, and it's really, really hard. But these people are miserable. Like there's no other way than putting it. There is no one that is genuinely happy, content, successful that is leaving these comments and has an account that's fake to like leave people comments. Like this is what I mean, like these people don't exist. So yeah, I have a really different outlook on it this year, and I don't let it affect me at all. And you have to focus on the positive because there's so much more positive out there. It's just the negative people are louder, but they are such a smaller minority.
Yeah, I fully get that. If we talk about now relationships in the real world, how have you found your friendships to be impacted or not since you started Odd Muse?
I mean, I think my journey with friends has been very similar to any other young woman. Like going into your like late 20s, you're not maybe talking to the same people that you used to like go out every night with at uni or stuff like that. But I've always kept my circle super, super small, very close to my family. I've got 2 main best friends that have been my best friends since I was like 14 years old. And I've always just been quite like that. I've never like been that person that wants or needs loads of friends. And Odd Muse has just been, at first and foremost, just been so much fun for my friends and family. So yeah, it's been really positive. I haven't had any situations like, I don't know, what people hear about, like making new friends, getting taken advantage of, or losing friends, jealousy, anything like that. Nothing like that. It's just, if anything, we're all just having a fun old time with Odd Muse. They love the free clothes.
That's amazing. No, it's beautiful to hear, and I think it speaks to a part of the environment, right? Like it's not just places or like how you spend your time; it's the people you spend your time with. So having that,
I'm
aligned with that.
Very, very lucky. Like I've been very, very lucky with like friends, relationships, family. I'm like very, very lucky.
That's great. One thing I think, so you come from the UK, I come from Australia. I think one thing, I don't know what you guys call it there. In Australia, we call it tall poppy syndrome.
Yes.
You familiar with that?
Yes. It's very much a UK thing too.
Yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you feel like you've really had to dim your own light, make yourself smaller, just to like fit in or just not step on other people's toes
100%.
socially, not in your inner
I feel like
circle?
I'm very much in this era now. So like if you look back to the content I was putting out a few years ago, I used to talk a lot more about nitty-gritty numbers, and now I just almost don't feel comfortable to do that because I think it's a thing with women as well. It's almost quite crass to talk about numbers when they're like really successful. So yeah, I feel like I've refrained from being as nitty-gritty as I used to be. But I still, see all men and like going on podcasts and talking about like billions and millions and all stuff like that. And I feel like we as women, we refrain a little bit because we love getting into nitty gritty when it's like this building stage. But when I talk about like this ceiling and like Odd Muse is super successful now, I almost feel like a bit more uncomfortable. And even like even things that I'm doing outside of Odd Muse, like even like my investments outside of Odd Muse, for some reason, I don't feel comfortable bringing them to the internet because as a woman, you almost feel like you're showing off when really men are just like, telling all their friends, get on this, invest in this. This is what I did. And as women, we just don't share as much because we're afraid to come across as crass, I think, or at least that's how I feel. So I think, yeah, it has changed. I feel like it doesn't affect me though. Like it doesn't affect my business or affect my brand if I'm not talking about nitty-gritty numbers or where I'm investing my money. But I would like to talk more about it because I do feel like women should know, where to spend their money and what to do if they've got money in the bank. And I feel like I could really help with that. But right now it's just not something I feel comfortable with because of, you know, what we're talking about now.
It's interesting, right? Because it's like you almost feel like you're no longer relatable maybe to people that you were in the building phase.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had that before. I've had like a few messages saying like, you're not relatable anymore. And it's like, what? Well, I am, because I'm still the same girl that started this business, and I can still always speak to that girl, but it doesn't make me not relatable. And what is the problem in that?
Do you know what I think? I think you've almost unlocked like a next level of yourself, right? And so when you're speaking from that next version of yourself, you're then speaking to other women who have also kind of elevated at that point. Perhaps they have money at that level and they are interested in investing. That's not to say it doesn't apply to everyone. What I'm trying to say is you've perhaps unlocked a different category of audience. So yeah, it maybe feels misaligned sharing that right now because your existing audience, you've been showing up in a certain way, you've been relatable to them in a certain way. But that information that you have would be so valuable to people who are also at that same point as you.
Yeah.
So I wonder if like that's the gap.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually thought about making a TikTok today about watches. Like, I really want to see more women buying watches.
Is that an AP you got
yes.
on?
So when I went to, I've got two of these, and when I went in there years ago, they said to me, we really want to see more women coming in here and buying their own watches. We want more women clients. Can you help us with more women clients? And I was like, I always see women in APs. Like, what's going on? And, you know, most women are getting their APs bought for them. But I think there's a lot of women out there that can buy that watch and go in there and buy that watch, but they've not got other women saying, put your money in a watch. Like this watch I'm wearing right now, I could go and sell for 3 times the amount. If my sales associate is watching this, I'm not going to sell it. Don't blacklist me. I'm not going to sell it. I've worn it every day for 2 years.
The concept of watches as investments.
The concept of watches as investments and women buying watches, like that is, I just think a woman buying their own watch is like so fucking cool. And I almost made a video today about how like when I first bought my AP, you know, they said to me they want to see more women buying watches, and everyone in the showroom was just like so excited for me. It's like they'd never seen a woman buy their own watch. And I was like, this is just so cool. But I would never, even this morning, I was like, I just could never go online and say, you know, this is the watch I bought in 2022. This is what I got in 2023. You know, if you've got that cash, you need to invest it in, you know, in watches or anything like that. And I just thought, oh, there's no point, because it's just going to hit the wrong audience. They're going to tell me I'm unrelatable. They're going to tell me I'm showing off. And actually, I just want successful women to invest in a watch. I want to see women buying their own watches, but you can't guess how that's going to land. And you know, my worst nightmare in life is to come across as flashy. That is like my worst nightmare. But I'm a fashion girl through and through. You know, all the bags I have, I can tell you who was the creative director of Chanel when it went down the runway, what year it was. Like, it is such a passion of mine that I don't share, because I'm just like, there's no point, because if it lands wrong, it lands wrong. Like, I don't own any of these things from a materialistic point of view. I own these things because they're cool and there's history, and it just excites me. And it's one of the reasons why I started Odd Muse. You know, Odd Muse is actually my response to inviting people into that world, and almost like that first step into it. So when we was opening our new Bond Street store, my finance director was like, please, can you just get a shop in the Trafford Centre in Manchester? The numbers will be insane. Or even if we go like just off of Oxford Street, like blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, we're getting a store on New Bond Street. I don't care if it breaks even every month. Like, I want my customer to walk down New Bond Street, because currently they're not going down a street and shopping with all the flags and shopping down these streets, because it's only YSL, Louis Vuitton, Chanel. It's not any accessible brands. So I really kind of like challenge and spend a bit more money to be in these places that typically you wouldn't see a brand like Odd Muse, because I want to invite my customer kind of into this world, and as she steps up, buy herself a nice bag, get a nice watch when she hits that amazing career level. So yeah, it's a real interest of mine, but I just don't show my life really professionally beyond Odd Muse, because I would never want it to come across like, look what I have, because it's not. It's like, look what you could have and look how cool this is. So yeah, I do definitely feel that. But again, it doesn't really affect my life. In the same breath, I don't care for people to know what I have and stuff like that.
But like, even just hearing you speak, like, it's very clear that's not your intention.
No,
and so
I know.
think when you're ready to share, if you do share and if you do decide that that's content you want to put out there, it will land with the right people,
Yeah.
you know. And I would love to see, like, you know, women talking about that kind of stuff too. How did you actually get into investing? Just like high level, right? Because I feel like you don't really think about it. You're like, oh, when I have money, I'll think about it. Was there anything you did on the way up? Was it a case where you're like, oh my God, I've got all this cash, it's just sitting there doing nothing, now I should probably do it? Did you get advice? Like, what was your journey?
Not really. It's all just been like very, very natural for me. So like when I think about bags are obviously great investments. You know, it's always just been like my Pinterest board for as long as I can remember. And then, you know, I got into watches probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember I bought myself like a tiny little Rolex, and I was just obsessed with how much I valued it. Like, buying my first watch like is such an achievement for me. Like that, it is just like a feeling. And then you start to learn about, you know, the value of them, and, you know, people who buy and sell watches, and people have like huge careers,
whole world,
just like buying something, then a few months later, like the exclusivity of that world really, really excites me. And like, even when I think to when we did the New Bond Street townhouse, like AP was telling me that they're opening a townhouse on New Bond Street, and the more watches you buy, you work your way up the levels of the house. And I said to my finance director, we've got to get a 5-story house on New Bond Street, and we've got to open a private shopping suite. I just find this like uber luxury world so inspiring for my own business, and to almost, like I said, invite her in. So I just find it super inspiring, and I just think it's super, super cool. And that's kind of the limit at the moment, is kind of like bags and watches, and I do like a little bit of property. But I still feel like I'm very much at the beginning. Like, I've not really invested in any companies. Like, I'm in talks at the moment about potentially investing in one company that I've really supported from the very beginning. They're an amazing startup. But that's just like, I mean, I'm 29 years old. I feel like I'm just getting started. But yeah, I do want to be able to get to a point where I feel super comfortable sharing what I'm doing outside of Odd Muse, because there's just so much opportunity for us as women to just be spinning loads of plates and be super successful doing that.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it's one thing to talk about the success you've had and the journey you've been on, but then what are all the other buckets? Like, what are the other things you can learn? Like, thinking about a career or business as like the journey is such a limiting way to look at, I guess, your potential, because it really is just a door to then open up a lot of
and
other
I
doors.
said this about Odd Muse last year, because, you know, when I was really thinking about, you know, maybe exiting the business, I was saying, like, I've been doing this for 5 years, and if I was in another job for 5 years, I would be thinking about my next step. So all of what I'm doing outside of Odd Muse is genuinely what I'm really excited for, and I think that's fueling a lot of like my mindset and just my general life happiness at the moment, because it is very natural to do something for 5 years and be like, okay, what's the next step for me?
Would you ever consider selling Odd Muse?
Before I would say like, no, never, ever, ever. But at the moment, I'm really sure I can take it to 100 million. I don't care when. It can be in 2 years, it can be in 5 years, it can be in 10 years. I'm in no rush. But once I build it to like 100 million in sales every single year, I think I would consider selling some of it. But that's the first time I've ever really kind of thought about it. But I know I can take it to 100 million self-funded. I just know I can do it.
Well, I can't wait to have you back on and we have that conversation.
Thank you.
You've done it, because I've got no doubt, you know, with the kind of personality you've got.
Thank you.
Do you think there'd ever be what kind of state would the business have to be in for it to no longer be worth it for you personally?
I'm not really sure. I think for me, the way I was feeling last year and how I described it to our finance director is, I don't think I'm the best person for this business, and Odd Muse can grow more without me. You know, and, you know, I think about my team as well. I'm like, the more Odd Muse grows, the more opportunity is for them. So I think if I was to ever like feel that way super consistently again, like I think it could go beyond this and be amazing and be huge. But I'm maybe not the person to take it there. I think if I ever, you know, I had that conversation with myself in 2025, but it was a very brief blip moment having that conversation with Stephen, doing the framework. It wasn't the right decision. However, if I hit that decision again quite calmly, whereas I feel like last year I was like in a frantic state of mind and super upset and think that's the worst time to sell your business. But I think if I very maturely one day have a thought where it's like, okay, I've done amazing, but I don't think I want to or can take it to the next level, then I would maybe consider exiting. So I think a similar feeling to what I've had before, but in a much more, a better headspace.
Yeah, I get that. If you had to send a message back in time to day one, Aimee starting Odd Muse, what would you really want her to hear?
Just get ready, girl.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up, because I was not prepared. I think a lot of what the content that you've seen from me, like being super upset and super overwhelmed, was because I was just not ready for what this was going to become. And I never, you know, my partner would always say to me, you don't realise how big this business is. And I think I would just like remind her, like, this is going to get big. Hire everyone you need. Sort all these little problems out now, because when you're a big company and sending out loads of orders, these little issues are going to become big issues. And I would have just said to her, like, buckle up, get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Do you think you would have still started the business knowing everything you know today?
100%. 100%. Like, you know, it's been super stressful, but it's changed my life. It's changed my parents' life. I was able to completely settle their mortgage last year. It's changed my family's life in ways beyond I ever thought I could. So that outweighs everything. So yeah, 100%. I'd do it all over again.
That's amazing. I've got a quick just back and forth little questions for you. It's about, you know, we've spoken about day one, Aimee, your journey to today, but this is really about who you're becoming.
Yeah.
Okay. So just complete the sentence.
Okay.
The version of me I'm becoming is no longer available for
stress.
The version of me I'm becoming needs more.
Needs more confidence. Like, I feel like I've become really confident, but I think we all still have a way to go. Like, we all just want to be like so sure of ourselves in everything we say and put out on the internet. So I think just more confidence. I always want to keep growing that.
Is learning to stop apologizing for?
Is learning to stop apologising for how crazy my life is. Because sometimes it is super hard to just be like, you know, no, I don't want to be here right now, or I can't see you this day. I think I've struggled with that a little bit this year. So, you know, just really not apologising for the fact that I am a very busy person that just loves being at home when she's not working and just super, super just quiet around work. So I think I need to stop apologising for that.
Don't need to justify yourself
No.
anymore. The version of you that you're becoming is proud of?
Herself. She's just proud of herself.
Beautiful. And the version of you that you're becoming is choosing?
Herself.
Beautiful. Well, Aimee, it's been really beautiful to sit and chat with you today.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed that.
Me too.
Thank
And
you.
I can't wait. Honestly, I'm putting it out there. We're going to be having a conversation within the next 3 to 4 years about how you've taken your business to 100 million. We're going to be sitting in these exact same chairs, or actually, who knows where my studio will be in 3 or 4 years. But genuinely, you have, you know, you said one thing. You said, it wouldn't be worth it for me if I wasn't the person to take my business, if I wasn't the best person. But you genuinely have that personality where you will always keep growing and evolving and adapting your circumstances. There's literally no way you won't be the right person, in my view, you know. So really excited to watch your journey, and I'm really grateful for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.